Hi, my name's Mark, one of the pastors here at Trillium. The events in Paris, those 130 people getting killed, have reminded me of a very famous quote, perhaps the most famous line in English literature: to be or not to be. That is the question. Jung says that our basic challenge in life is to own up to our legitimate suffering, and that all the neurosis, all the neurotic suffering in life is always done in lieu of owning up to our legitimate suffering. And so that sliver we get in our foot, we have to be willing to let someone jab around in there with a needle to get the sliver out. And so often we'll put it off. We'll put off our legitimate suffering, and we'll hobble around in life on a sore foot for weeks on end because we don't want to step into that legitimate suffering. And to be or not to be is the ultimate of the challenges of legitimate suffering. Paul Tillich, a great theologian of the middle 20th century, talked about the fact that there's a part of us, that courage to be is the great challenge of life. And we struggle with our existence and the possibility of our non-existence. As far as we know, we're the only creatures who are aware of our own mortality. And we are aware of our existence, and we're also aware of the possibility of our non-existence. To be or not to be is the great quote, because it is the quintessential question of our lives. It's the very essence of what we are about. And reminds us over and over again how fragile life is, how frail we are. We're filled with these frailties that we can't get out of. Tillich talks about the fact that we have these frailties that come from the kind of nature we are as human beings, and we can't escape them, and we can't deny them. We can suffer through them, then we can endure them, we can even embrace them, but we can never have them taken away from us. And the great message of our faith here at Trillium is that God has entered into the frailties of our lives. In becoming born as a child in Bethlehem, he enters into the very essence of human frailty. And Jesus struggles with that very question of to be or not to be on the cross. And in his resurrection, he proves to us that there is a reality of life beyond the body and beyond death. And his promise in his ascension is that God is going to always live within us, and that we can be aware of the presence of God. And the great miracle in all of this story is that God does not take away our frailties in life, but God gives us the power to endure our frailties and to move through our frailties and to act in our frailties and even to triumph in our frailties. And I think we in the West have been woken up to the frailties of life by that crazy event in Paris, and we're still trying to get our heads around it, just like we did with 9/11. Sometimes things will happen in your life or my life, and it will awaken us to that very existential challenge that we all have, the crisis that comes to us. It can come in a moment of life when you have everything. You have a great spouse, you have a great job, you have great kids, you have a great house, and yet there's that emptiness inside. Or you're looking for some basic sense of meaning or purpose to life. You've done everything the world's told you to do, and yet you're still empty. Or maybe you've got some real serious health challenges, and the fragileness of your life is just hanging over you. Or you're trapped in some circumstance, and you don't seem to be able to get out of it. I was listening to a story of Syrian refugees, living in a town for hundreds of years as a family, and all of a sudden being fought over by government forces and ISIS. And they belong to neither side, and they can't go to either side for release or to an escape because either side would kill them. So they just hunker down and wait, trapped in a circumstance they can't get out of. And on a smaller level, that could be true in some kind of addiction, or maybe you're trapped in a kind of relationship you can't get out of. And we all find these basic existential crises in our lives. And we only have one option this day, really. We can either launch ourselves into the legitimate suffering of our anxieties, or we can flee from them and create a whole set of secondary neurotic sufferings for ourselves. Jesus said it very simply. He said, deny yourself, deny your neurotic self, your false self, take up your cross, that is, own your legitimate suffering, and follow me. The psalmist says today for us, the songwriter says, you, Lord, are the light that keeps me safe. I am not afraid of anyone anymore.